Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about the mindful awareness of triggers. And so I'm just going to put up my little roughly hand-drawn diagram from last time. So this is the habit loop. The habit loop is cue, which is followed by craving, which is followed by response, which is followed by reward. And so what we're going to talk about here today is, trigger is here in the cue part, right? So, and that's why are we focusing on that part is because this is the part that we can interact with the most that is going to potentially have a difference on the outcome. Once the rest of the chain starts, we still may have some control over what's going on at craving, but then once the whole automatic cycle begins to execute, it's harder and harder to have some control over what's going on. So, noticing triggers with mindfulness is the key to breaking the habit loop. So if we can really start at step one and notice it, and I think I just want to say right off the bat is, with the 9 Attitudes course coming out, I suppose it's a bit maybe coincidental, maybe non-judging, the very first attitude of mindfulness-based stress reduction, is just so important in a lot of what we do in our mindfulness practice. So non-judging and seeing things objectively, curiously, without trying to assess whether this is good or bad, it is very important through this entire loop, right? Not just up here, but all the way through here. And that non-judging has a strong impact on your ability to be successful in this. Because what tends to happen is as the execution is going on, the judging mind, what's really interesting about the judging mind is the pushing away of unpleasant things, right? And so we see, a lot of times you see the habit loop going, and what you do is try to look away and try to deny that it's happening. Try not to believe that I'm really opening the bag of chips, right? To use the same analogy that I used last time. So tapping into that non-judging mindset can help you to see whatever it is that's happening clearly and not to be so worried about, is this good, is this bad? And of course, when it comes to building and fostering a non-judging attitude, self-compassion is key as well. So that's something else that we can implement is self-compassion during that time. So that's just kind of the intro to triggers, and I think it's really important that non-judging is. Let's see. I'll just write it here. Just write it to emphasize just how important non-judging is. So, so what are triggers exactly? They are the things that spark the habit, right? And so what's really interesting about the trigger as well is that without mindfulness, our efficient brains are simply going to execute that series of steps without our knowing it. Because what happens is that that bag of chips somehow ends up being open, and we're consuming out of it. And by the time that happens, we don't even know what happened before that. to get to this point where this has already happened. So mindfulness will help us as we back up to those other steps to start see them happening. And with mindfulness, the trigger becomes a choice point. So instead of having to go through everything automatically and getting to that point where we don't realize how the behavior has already executed itself, we'll be able to start to see earlier. And I think that's another place where non-judging comes in, because if we make a decision that causes that behavior to continue anyway, after we've seen the cue, after we've seen the trigger clearly, then that's a place where judging can happen very easily. And then that judging of what happened and the negativity around that can really make it, one, hard to see mindfully again that this has happened because of the pain that comes with seeing our failure to be able to do the thing that we want to do. So that's really, I can't stress enough how important non-judging is in this breaking the habit cycle, stopping the habit loop from continuing to happen automatically. So what's a trigger? Triggers are the things that spark these automatic habits. They can be external. They could be something like a place, being in a place, being around a person, a particular time of day, an environment. That all of these things could cause a particular behavior to trigger. Another thing, it could be internal. It could be some kind of emotion. It could be a thought. It could be stress, right? I know that one pretty well myself. Habits that I have wanted to let go of becoming very difficult to let go of because I'm so used to relying on that behavior for coping with stress. And I guess that's another thing that I love thinking through mindfulness and my MBSR teacher training. This is one of the things that MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, has helped so much, is creating new healthy coping habits. So one of the things that can change a lot with implementing mindfulness practice to your daily life is finding new ways to cope and finding healthier ways to cope when things get difficult. So it could be, internal triggers could be emotions, could be thoughts, could be stress, could be boredom. Boredom itself can be something unpleasant that we want to go away and can trigger habits that help us to relieve that feeling of boredom. So most of the time, or very often, we will only see the behavior after it's already happened and not be able to have any impact on it. And so mindfulness helps us get involved in that very first step when we notice the trigger happening. And the trigger, one of the things that it does is it will cause physical sensations in the body. And so that's really one of the key of mindfulness practices, to notice the physical sensations in the body as we go, aha, there's that sensation that I know, and that sometimes also comes as step 2 is we're rolling into step 2, which is the craving part. And so we can start to see more clearly because that's coming up. And so can we observe the trigger? Can we observe some of the sensations that are coming with craving and use that as the choice point instead of what it is that's beginning to happen automatically? So without triggers, without awareness of triggers, we're just going to continuously do that autopilot behavior. When we have awareness of triggers, then it changes from something that's autopilot to a choice point. And again, I'm going to stress it one more time. That it is a choice point. It means that you can still choose to do the behavior. And I would encourage you, especially early in trying to change habits, don't even bother trying to change it. Just be aware. Be aware that the choice point is there and recognize that no, I have the choice. I don't have to follow the autopilot behavior. But then, instead of trying to force ourselves out, just practice that awareness first. And then as you see yourself doing the habit that you don't want to do, can you be easy on yourself? And I guarantee you, if you're able to see the trigger, you're able to continue doing the thing that you don't want to do with awareness. If you keep practicing that, definitely a few days later, a few weeks later, it's going to be a lot easier to be able to say no. So instead of trying the very first time, get a little bit of practice of awareness first. So there was a request last time to use procrastination as an example. So, okay, I'm just a quick look at the chat. Well, I'm gonna have to move on because we're already a bit late in this. There will be a replay coming out that you can watch. So I want to use procrastination as an example because that was something that was examined that was asked for last time. So the habit cycle goes like this for procrastination. So what tends to happen is I think about this big task that's coming up. And typically what happens with procrastination is there's a feeling of anxiety, a feeling of overwhelm. And so that is the unpleasant thing that we start to know, right? And so then the craving is to make that anxious, overwhelmed feeling go away. And so the response tends to be avoidance. So what do? I pull out my phone, I start scrolling, I open the bag of chips, I start snacking, I find some kind of busy work to occupy my time. Instead of working on the thing that I'm supposed to be working on, I find another task to do. Now's the time I'm gonna clean my bedroom or reorganize my, whatever. And so the reward is the temporary relief from that discomfort that we get. And so this can be really easy pattern to fall into. And so with mindfulness, what you can do is notice what that trigger is like. And Rachel, that is basically the summary, is that with mindfulness, we can really notice non-judgmentally what the trigger is like. So, what is it? So what does anxiety feel like? And so this is, again, with that familiarity, as we have begun experiencing anxiety with clarity, we will notice what the bodily sensation of anxiety feels like. And so what is it? Is it tightness in chest? What are our thoughts? Are we having anxious thoughts? Are we, is our breath changing? Is the breath increasing in pace? I think for me, anxiety feels like a closing in a tightening, a closing in my chest. Not really even a tightening as much as a shrinking and a closing down kind of feeling. And so, what's the very first thing you can do to change what's going on is to pause, is to take a breath, is to recognize what's happening, recognize that I am about to do one of my avoiding behaviors. And so now we can choose a new response. So maybe take one small step, right? I mean, this is the power of small wins, right? Can I see this small step and can I take credit for it? Can I try to do 5 minutes, right? Set a low bar for myself. Can I do 5 minutes of focused work of the thing that I'm avoiding? And by the way, just to let you know, that's one of the things that I've noticed is that once I begin 5 minutes of the task that I've procrastinated on, sometimes, so I'd say more often than not, I find myself starting to just kind of naturally lock into that work that I've been avoiding. So, maybe the same will happen for you. Who knows? But the idea is, don't make the goal too difficult so that it is easier to engage in the thing that you're avoiding, and to be able to work on it just for a little while. Set an easy, achievable goal so that you will be more likely to be successful, and who knows what happens once you get more engaged. And then the reward will shift, right? So the reward was avoiding the task to help the anxiety subside. And so now the reward changes to real relief. Now the anxiety goes away, but this time it goes away in a permanent way, right? Because whatever thing that you were avoiding is now it's complete, or it's on the way to being complete. And so, this small temporary reward, which has it's a non-lasting reward, which actually, if we look, the anxiety starts to grow over time as we're avoiding the same task over and over again. So the reward that we get from accomplishing the task is significantly bigger, because whatever the task is, it's gone, right? It's finished. We've completed it, or at least we're making headway on that, which is the opposite of what happens if we avoid it. So some other everyday examples that we might have: the stress trigger might make us snap and be unpleasant or harm a loved one. Maybe verbally. Boredom could cause us to do mindless snacking. Another trigger could be fatigue. So we're getting too tired, and we skip the exercise that we wanted to do altogether, instead of perhaps thinking of some alternative, of something that we could do instead of what maybe our mind is locked into. I have to go to the gym for 1 hour. Maybe it's possible to take a walk today instead. So with mindfulness, each of these becomes an opportunity to pause and to redirect and to rethink with an open mind. What is possible, instead of having to go through my automatic routine each time. So mindfulness helps us slow down, helps us to see, because when we're moving a little bit more slowly, we can see more clearly. It trains our curiosity so that we can see things curiously. This is interesting. What's happening here? Instead of judging, and we can investigate. So we can't always control our triggers, but we can choose our response. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So the trigger isn't the problem. The trigger is, in fact, an opportunity. It's a doorway to our awareness. And so we can see it like that. See it as an opportunity. See it as something positive instead of seeing it as something negative. So every trigger can be an invitation to pause and come back to presence. All right. I'm a bit late going into the meditation today, but this is I like this topic a lot. If you can't tell, so we're gonna go ahead and get into the meditation today. So get comfortable. Sit in any way that's going to be conducive of your meditation practice. What is meditating anyway, right? It's simply trying our best to be aware of what's happening right now. So what is happening right now? What is the state of your body? What is the state of your mind? How about your emotions? Maybe this talk on triggers has made something come up, has triggered something inside of you. And can you use that? If there is an emotion present, does it have a physical manifestation in the body? So noticing how the face feels. Is there any tension in the face? How about the jaw? How about the shoulders? So see if you can begin to notice what it feels like to be breathing. So let's try to deepen our breath just a little bit here at the beginning. So with a little bit of breath control, you can already begin to see how the body will relax a little bit more, which can affect the mind and the emotions. Also relaxing a bit more. Helping the mind to slow down. Helping the emotions to calm down. And, when I say this, helping the mind and the emotions to calm down, just know that that is not always what happens. So if you're, one of the things that can be an impediment to progress or impediment to relaxation is trying to relax. Sometimes forcing things to be in a certain way causes a ton of resistance. So just deepen the breath a little bit and see what happens. And see if you can just roll out the red carpet and welcome whatever is here right now. Even if it is difficulty. Even if it is tension. Welcoming it, not resisting it. Can be that first step to peace. So now I encourage you, invite you to let go of control of your breath. And just let your breath flow naturally. And tune in your attention to the physical sensation of breathing. The abdomen rising and falling, expanding and contracting. With each and every breath. Even if you're feeling anxious, even if your abdomen is tight, there is still some slight movement there. So do your best to just tune into it. Are you still focusing on the breath, or has the mind wandered? So this is a moment, if your mind has wandered, to practice non-judging. You haven't done anything wrong. This is automatic. This is what the mind does. The mind wants to think. So thoughts can bring up emotions, can bring up bodily sensations. When your mind wanders, what happens? Just notice that for a moment. And then return your attention back to breathing. And then notice as you're breathing, moment by moment, things are changing. If your mind was at something that was triggering, let's say, coming back to the breath might dissolve some of the strong emotions that are around it. So that's the practice. That's meditation. Just noticing what's happening from moment to moment and using this anchor of the breath to stay present with what's happening right now. And now where is the mind? On the breath? On the physical sensation of breathing? Or is it somewhere else? So gently shepherding back the mind to the breath. Maybe a sound has pulled your attention away. Just notice that. Is there thoughts that come with that? Is there curiosity? Oh, what was that I heard? As best you can, letting it go. Not letting it pull all of your attention away. Not letting the thought train, the thought stream to just go off. The moment you notice that you have been distracted. Acknowledging the distraction, noticing how it has affected the body, the mind, and the emotions, and then, as best you can, letting go, returning the attention to the breath. Okay. Well done. We're going to begin to draw our practice to its close. So I'll ring the bell 3 times, and after the sound of the bell subsides, feel free to begin to move your body, open your eyes if they were closed, as we transition into the rest of our day. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for practicing with me and being here today. Thanks, Gene. Thank you, Caesar. Why a meditation on breath only? Why not do some kind of visualization where we, think about our triggers and we imagine our triggers and we, try and relive the emotions that go along with it. I mean, that's something that you can do if you like. But from my experience, it can be the more beneficial thing to do. Sometimes we're not even aware of what our triggers are. So this kind of, and I'd encourage you not to practice awareness of breath just this once with me. Do it more often. Keep practicing, because it's this awareness that's going to be the key to unlock the door of you being able to see your triggers and your reactions more clearly. I mean, that's it, is that this focusing on breath and shepherding the mind back to the breath after it wanders away. It's just so powerful in becoming aware of subtle nuances that are happening inside of the mind. And that's it, is that a lot of times that the subtlety of what's happening around the trigger just isn't available to us. And like I said at the beginning, right, that bag of chips is open before we have any idea how it happened, right? Like even the process of opening the bag is unmindful, right? We don't even, we don't feel ourselves opening the bag. It's already done. So this practice of awareness of breath is really, really key in tuning in our self-awareness so we can see this happen. And so if you're aware of your triggers, if you know what they make you feel like, you can practice that. But I mean, honestly, that's something that it's going to happen. The habits that you're trying to change are going to come, and you don't have to simulate that. The real thing is going to be there for you to be able to see and observe and to be with. And to, when that choice point comes, you don't have to choose the right choice every time. Be aware of your own judgment towards yourself. So how did the practice go? Any questions or comments as we close today? All was well in my outdoor meditation until my dog started chasing a deer, triggered anxiety. Thanks, Amy, for sharing. And, and that's not a bad thing, right? Having anxiety in the middle of your meditation can be the perfect moment for you to examine it like a scientist looking at her experiment. What happened? What does anxiety look like? Oh, here it is. Anxiety itself can be that beautiful deer in the field for you to see. Hey, this I don't get a chance to examine this emotion with this kind of clarity all the time. So this is a beautiful moment for me to examine my own anxiety. Thanks, Amy, so much for sharing. Jean says, I do the visualization meditations with other teachers and other events. This is where I practice the basics. Thanks, Jean. And I think it is appropriate to bring visualizations in from time to time, even in this mindfulness practice. But I'd say those are more the fewer and the farther between. Here is, like you say, the place to get the tools to do the work in other places. Okay. Thanks, Jean, for your donation. I'll just go ahead and throw that donation card up here. So if today's practice was helpful for you, feel free to donate if you have the means. I'll say by all means, if you have the means. Please donate. That is helpful for me, certainly. The most helpful thing, thanks Cece for your donation. The most helpful thing that you can do is follow me on Insight Timer. So if you don't already, that's the other, another very helpful thing that you can do. As it does help keep me out there and known by the Insight Timer community. And I do have a course that's coming up. My first course is releasing, unfortunately not yesterday, because of the issue I had with the image being a bit too small. Chris asked, do you need a Plus membership to do the course? You do need a Plus membership to do the course. All the courses on Insight Timer are like that. Insight Timer has also had premium tracks become available for us teachers, and I find that those aren't. I haven't figured out exactly how I structure my premium tracks versus my non-premium tracks, but that said, I do understand why they keep courses in the premium section, because it is a different experience. I mean, just having revised the course, knowing how the classroom in the course works, it's a very different experience than just doing one-off meditations. So if you've never subscribed to Insight Timer, when my course comes out, it might be a time for you to just to do the free trial to see what you think. It certainly won't be my last course. I'm going to be working on more courses soon. So yeah. Anyway, enough about that. I will be back as I am. I'll be back next week on Tuesday morning, my time, which is Monday evening for many of you. It is the name of the practice is self-compassion when you slip. Okay, so it goes hand in hand with what we've just covered, right? I spent a lot of time talking about non-judging because it's just so important. And what helps us to build our non-judgment is self-compassion. So I think I've covered self-compassion quite a lot in these past couple months, but it's because it's important, especially when we're trying to make changes. So thanks so much. And Rosio says, I arrived right at the moment to your live. It makes me feel aware of my anxiety and my neck tension. Thanks for sharing, Rosio. And thanks for being here today. So come back next time as we talk about, what happens when this cycle goes through and completes. So we don't have to judge ourselves harshly. In fact, judging ourselves harshly is counterproductive. So self-compassion can be an antidote and can help us to practice non-judgment more easily. Hope to see you then. Let's close our practice as we do with some well wishes to ourselves, speaking of compassion, and some well wishes to everybody else that's here. So follow along if you like. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone here today, watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all human beings, everyone, everywhere, no matter where they are, no matter what their status is, I wish them all happiness and peace. Thanks again. See you next time. Bye-bye.